It's about being human, you know, the green beans, black, white, yellow, red, brown, human. That's what it's all about. Now, one of the things that's most important is that while this debate was going on over what to do with the immigrants, there's a larger debate, and that's going to be known as the Civil War. What do you do with black people? What do you do with the black beans? What are the black beans? Black beans. America has problems with the black beans. That's what the Civil War was all about. And the Civil War, as a result of the Civil War, we get 3 amendments to the Constitution, which are the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution. But what concerns us here is what the first civil rights movement, people call the first civil rights, I call it the second. The first is the abolitionist movement. But the civil rights movement, known as the Civil War, and brought us what is known as Reconstruction and the Reconstruction Acts, which are the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution. The 14th Amendment, of course, it took African slaves to help determine citizenship, because Africans were denied citizenship, African slaves. So now we're going to understand the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, because this amendment to the Constitution is so important, so crucial today. The 14th Amendment is the 1868 Naturalization Law. The 14th Amendment is the first time that naturalization extended beyond the 1790 standard of free white persons. So the 14th Amendment, that's the amendment to the Constitution that corporations have used to protect their civil rights. But this 14th Amendment was used to protect the civil rights of African Americans, of Black Lives Matter. The award of birthright citizenship is important to understand. All right? The 14th Amendment is one of the post-Civil War amendments. It was intended to secure rights for former slaves. And it includes, most importantly, the due process and the Equal Protection Clause, amongst others. So the amendment provides a broad definition of U.S. citizenship. And as we will learn when I talk about the black beans, it supersedes the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in Dred Scott versus Stanford that had excluded slaves imported from Africa and their descendants. So the amendment requires states to provide equal protection under the law to all persons within their jurisdiction and to grant citizenship to those who are born in the United States. This due process clause has been the basis of much important and controversial issues regarding privacy rights, abortion, and other issues, especially today, birthright issues with regards to immigrants and their children. Now, after the Civil War, the United States is, between 1870 to 1920, is going to take over capitalism, and Wall Street is going to take over this country, and it's going to organize the greatest march of economic growth in human history, and it's going to need workers. So between 1870 to 1920, more than 26 million people are going to come to the United States between 1870 to 1920. Historians refer to the arrival of these populations as the Second Great Wave. All of us are familiar with this part of immigration history because the experience popularized the Statue of Liberty, and Ellis Island became the immigration processing station in this era. Now, there's 3 reasons for remembering the Second Great Wave's significance. First, these immigrants settled throughout the nation. They came from Asia, they came from the Americas, but most importantly, they came from Africa, but most importantly, they came from Europe. And third, the federal government is going to assert its control over immigration policy in this era. Immigrants in this period alone exceeded the national populations that was established in 1850. So the immigrants are going to outnumber the population of the United States that was established in 1850. It's very, very important. The symbolism of this period is still alive with us today. Ellis Island came into use as an immigration processing station. Let's go to a film clip from a documentary on the Southern and Eastern Europeans who formed part of this wave. We got the film clip on Ellis Island.
Over 12 million men, women, and children passed this way. Passed through rooms and corridors haunted with a special stillness which remains only in places once noisy with human life. Here they bought tickets for 1,000 places in America. Here they traded their drachmas, their liras, and their rubles for dollars. Here they sang their first American songs, experienced their first American Christmas and Hanukkah. Here they waited to be given permission to pass over to the new land. Tens of millions of us have relatives who came this way. Sat in this room, part of the largest human migration in history. Of the many who came, some were turned away. But even they would leave part of themselves in America to remind us why they had come so far. Why they had made the journey.
Okay, later on when I talk about the white beans, we will appreciate something about the Second Great Wave, because the Second Great Wave is very significant for us to understand about formation and control of labor forces. But what is important is that Ellis Island is remembered as the great processing center, but what happened at this time between 1870 and 1920 is that it's also a period of increasing restriction. And this wave of immigration ended with one of the most draconian restrictions that the United States ever imposed, and that is the 1924 Immigration Quota Restriction or Quota Act, which ends this presentation. Now, the Second Great Wave was a period of vast immigration, but it was also a time of increasing selection in who could immigrate and in what numbers.